Yes, hi. My name's Chuck Nyberg, and I'll be your host for the SteepGraph Tuesday video conference series here. Wow, where we will discuss everything PLM. With me, I have is Lars Hansen, a PLM consultant for SteepGraph, and today we'll be discussing PLM to ERP integration. And so, hi, Lars. Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, certainly. I'm Lars Hansen. I've been working with PLM in one form or another for 20 plus years since the term was coined, more or less. I've always been on the customer side, so I have participated in and witnessed this, you could say, large PLM and implementation projects, and I've made notes of the challenges and the problems you can expect on the way. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today.
Okay. So I figured I would start off with the first question, and to me it's an obvious question, but the question is, why even have an integration between PLM and ERP?
That's a good question. Most companies who have had ERP for quite a while, and we assume in this series that is normally the case. ERP has been with us for decades, right? But many companies are new to PLM, and something that pops up immediately is, okay, now we got two big systems to take care of what we do in this company. We should probably integrate them. But it's a good question, since it leads you to what do you want to achieve? If you want to spend the energy and money integrating, you must have some goals. And that's the first thing I've seen over the years become a little unclear for some companies that start out saying, hey, we need to integrate, without actually sitting down and thinking about what do we want to achieve here. There are many different things that you may want to achieve with these two big monsters of PLM and ERP systems, as they are really. Do you want something like improved data accuracy and quality and consistency? Some companies struggle with that, so that may be their main reason to want to integrate here. Is it collaboration that's your challenge? Do you need enhanced collaboration in your company to become quicker and to become more precise in your communication? Is it faster time to market? Is it reduction of way too many errors that you're experiencing? Or is it less manual work that you're after? There's a long list of reasons, but in my view, you must get a clear view of what are your objectives. What do you want to achieve? And also be aware that a big bang approach is maybe not the best way to do this. You may want to achieve things little by little and have some quick wins and go on from there. But keep your goal in mind. Keep it out there in front of you. Otherwise, you'll lose your bearings when you're integrating. And also, I think it's important to us, even to those of us who've been in this game for many years, to halt and say, okay, what are ERP and PLM systems actually? Because if you ask the vendors of these systems, they can certainly do it all. The ERP vendors will say, yes, we can do that. And the PLM vendors will say, we can do it all, including the ERP functionality. So ERP systems, we all know them, I guess, and they manage your day-to-day activities: accounting, inventory procurement, project management, production planning, supply chain, all of these things that are common for most companies. Whereas PLM system, and we assume that that's the new kid on the block here in this video series, PLM systems focus on the early stages of ideation, requirements, design of your products. But PLM systems will also be able to carry that information that you create in them through all the way to production. So we need to sit down and say, okay, what system does what for our company in this case here, and what do we want to achieve? That, in my view, is the very first and very important things you need to do before you even hit the first return in your integration work.
So going back to talking about the reasons why needing goals, which I agree, you definitely need goals. What would be your suggestion on the top 2 or 3 goals if I'm just starting out? There's so many goals. What would be your opinion on the top 2 or 3 goals I should be focusing on?
Yes, I know I listed a long list there, and it's even longer when you look at it. But in my experience with the companies I've been working with and doing this with, I would say that if we take the top 3, improved data quality is certainly one that is on nearly everyone's wish list. Most companies have scattered data, duplicated data, incomplete data. There's all of these things lying around, and that's certainly always, nearly always, on the wish list that the PLM system can help this situation. The other big one I've seen all companies, I would say, talk about is collaboration. How do you get the information all the way from your ideation people, from your product designers? How do you get that carried through? How do you get it clarified and carried through onto the production once they take over? So the collaboration in the whole chain of a product's life cycle from an idea till end of life is also very important. The third one I've seen pop up and again is to reduce repetitive, tedious manual work. Most companies will say they have 2 reasons to reduce manual work. One is that manual work incurs the risk of errors as opposed to process-based IT supported work. And the other one is that manual work just takes a lot of time. And most companies expect PLM systems to be able to speed up, especially these repetitive tasks that you do over and over again for all your products. So those 3, data accuracy, collaboration, and manual work reduction, I would say are the top 3 reasons I've seen out there.
Yeah, and in the end too, to kind of sum it up too, is speed. Ultimately, everything goes faster, right? So I can, in the end, ship more products because the process is now faster.
The thing with speed is you can use it for a multitude of things. One of them being able to ship more products quickly, another one being able to expand your portfolio of products within the same time frame. So speed is important in many ways here.
Okay. So the second, so now I'm starting this, I have this project, I'm going to start the integration. What do you foresee some of the problems I'm going to be facing?
Well, I would say that something most people don't foresee, if we have to start with that, is the cultural aspects, the organizational and cultural aspects of bringing PLM into a company that has not been using a PLM system before. Some companies have a situation where all the things that ERP has taken care of is well structured and well known, and there are clear processes. Whereas the early phases where you design your products may, in some cases, have been a little more Wild West like, and very much dependent on the designers and how they personally do things. That's something you see in many companies. So the cultural thing hits when you take this, should we call it Wild West area, and try to put it under control and try to create processes that everyone must follow. And that's exactly what PLM will do for you. So there is a cultural shock in many companies there. You also see an interesting effect where companies that have had ERP for many years have customized and expanded their ERP system to take care of some of the tasks that are actually in a PLM system. So now comes along this new PLM system, and you have the question of where does this task, where does this process actually belong? And you have to sit down and discuss that. And the worst case here is that you can end up in two camps of people, the ERP guys and the PLM guys, and they go into some kind of trench warfare about who should handle what here. I've seen it happen. It's a waste of time, and it can really destroy a lot of things. So I guess you must focus culturally. First of all, you must communicate. You must communicate and communicate and communicate once again to everyone in the company that here comes PLM. We've decided to do this. It's going to happen, and it will have influence on the way you as an employee is doing your work. That is very, very important to be upfront with that communication and to repeat it, because it takes quite a while to get something new like PLM up and running, and you need to repeat and iterate this communication many times during the process. And then if you do that well, you can get to a point where you focus on the processes, the common processes that you need, instead of is this belonging to PLM or to ERP, or what should be done with it. If you can get to the point where you say, okay, it's the process that's important. We need to design good processes based on PLM and ERP in unison, then we are really on a good path here. And I think the key point is that you should consider your PLM system and your ERP system as something that will form the backbone of your company's operation together. It's the togetherness that's important instead of dividing between the two. I won't talk about cultural things, but again, I think it's important to be prepared for that. I've seen many managements get somewhat of a shock there, that it's this difficult to get everyone on board and everyone aligned when you have decided to bring PLM into your company.
Yeah. Things I've learned too. I've found that there's data quality issues, right? That people are surprised when they find that the data is nothing like they thought it was going to be. So having to do data cleanup and not preparing for it. The other thing I find is the project tends to be too large and unmanageable. The scope is just, they want to do everything at once. And that's chunking it down into a bunch of pieces. What's the minimum you want to integrate with, which we could talk about later, even suggestions, but what's the minimum you want to do, and then grow from there. And lastly, I find that not having enough focused resources. A lot of times companies treat this as a part-time endeavor for the integration, and that isn't necessarily a good thing either.
No, I think the surprise often comes when management see how much this actually takes. And as you say, Chuck, if you give it to one or two people that may have some spare time between other tasks they have, it's not going to fly. You have to realize that this is a major thing, but the benefits are there in the end if you keep with it and if you put the resources into it that it really needs. I agree with that.
Okay. So let's go ahead and stop here, and we can continue this conversation later. But just want to go over what we talked about, a little summarization, right? So we talked about the differences of PLM and ERP, and then also having to decide what it is, especially to your point, if someone has modified the ERP to be kind of PLM-ish, having to figure out based upon process who should be doing what, and that's the reasons why you should integrate really are for data accuracy, collaboration, and reducing duplicate or manual work, right? And ultimately, the whole point is to speed things up and reduce the resources. And then some of the problems you might see, and I think that one of the good ones you put is just you're going from the Wild West to a control environment. So we know that resistance is going to be high because people enjoyed the Wild West to do it because it was faster. Now we're going to slow them down. And then also the communication, I agree. Communication to stakeholders, users, keep it ongoing, bring them in and make them involved. Understanding current processes to make sure when you develop, because this is going to change your process. So you must understand what they do today, why they do it. And then when they redesign it, they have a better chance here. And then also data, we talked about data quality. That's usually surprises people because of the Wild West, right? So that's one of the problems. Having a scope that's way too large, chunking it down, and not having enough focus resources. So any final thoughts?
Yes, I think our little discussion here today has shown that even before you start the technical task of integrating two systems, there are many important considerations to do, and we'll come back to those over and over again, even in the next videos where we will dive a little bit more into the technicalities and what data belongs where and what can we do and so on. I think it's still important to realize that this is not just a technology that you are starting up. It's a triangle, so to speak, between technology and people and processes. And for any good PLM implementation product to work, those three things have to be taken into account. But let's end it here, Jack. And in our next video, I guess we'll discuss a little more on the technical side and on the functional side, how a basic integration can work and what you need to take into account there.
Okay, that sounds good. So without further ado, thanks for your time.